I'm Hana.
And I'm Chevi.
We're hardcore adults.
Okay, well, we're trying to be. That's why we made this podcast.
To give you the life advice that you may or may not want.
Have you got your iced coffee?
Obviously.
Welcome back to Project Iced Coffee, episode 7, with a very special guest, Shana Deal.
Hi, Shana.
Hey.
How you doing?
Baruch Hashem, thank you for having me.
Of course, we're so excited to have you. Oh my gosh, Shana, I miss you. I'm so excited now about we have a time to talk.
Yay!
It happens to be our podcast, but we have to talk more. We have to catch up.
Yeah,
Definitely.
We for sure do.
All right, let's kick off this podcast episode. Hana, you're up first. Tell us, what iced coffee are you drinking?
I know. Okay, so unfortunately, I didn't get a fancy Starbucks or Dunkin' or anything. I just made my regular iced coffee, which is a regular Starbucks blonde cold brew with Califia vanilla almond milk. It's delicious. It's my classic, my favorite. I drink it every day. I didn't have a nice coffee yet today, so cheers.
Listen, it sounds great. It sounds delicious, and that
It is delicious. That's what matters.
That's all that matters. All right, kids. Are we ready for the joke of the podcast?
I'm so excited. Shana, are you ready for the joke of the podcast?
I'm ready.
Okay. Shana, I'm going to need your help with this. Okay, are you ready?
Alrighty.
Okay. Shana.
Okay.
What do you call an alligator in a vest?
An alligator in a vest.
An investigator.
Okay, I'm leaving this podcast right now. Where's the end button?
Come on, it's funny.
You're hilarious.
That was a good one. Thank
you. Thank you. Okay. So Shana, in order to kick off this episode, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to our fans. Give us at least 2 fun facts about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1, I'm a little bit of a Disney freak. Currently, my family only has Disney Plus because of me, because it's all I watch anymore. And they're like, let's get rid of it, because we had it. We got a new phone plan or whatever, and we got it for free for a year. And then after that, I'm like, no, we're keeping it. I need it. I can't get rid of it. So that's number 1.
Disney Plus is the best.
About me. Disney Plus is actually the best. Don't even get me started.
I love it.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
The second thing I'll say is that I'm at least trilingual. So I speak English, Hebrew, Farsi, and a little bit of Italian. So I'm at least trilingual.
Wow.
Yeah.
But of course Shana is.
Of course.
Oh,
you speak every single language. But now I'm curious, just so that our audience can know more of our relationship. So we went to high school together, but what was your first impressions of us? How did we meet? I mean, I remember my first impression of you, but I don't think I'm gonna say it.
Shana, what do you have to say about the OG Hana and Chevi? Take it back to 9th grade real quick. What do you remember about it?
Shana met me in 8th grade.
Yeah, so I knew Hana from before. We weren't such close friends at the time, but it was because Hadassah, who was on the show before, Hadassah was my best friend growing up, is my best friend still, and Hadassah is her first cousin, so I knew her through Hadassah.
Yeah, and I knew you were going to Shalamis also.
Yeah, we were both going to Shalamis, so we became more friendly because of that. And I remember Hana just having a big obsession with bunnies.
Oh,
that's one of the first things I remember about
I am shocked. Whoa, how did that
yeah.
Okay, I have an obsession with bunnies, that's a fact, but I didn't know it came out of me even in 8th and 9th grade. I thought I was done with it by 6th grade.
It was low key, but when I spent enough time with you, I realized, I don't know, I just realized.
That is actually hilarious. That is.
Maybe you had a pencil case with a bunny on it or something, and you were like, I'm obsessed with bunnies. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. People can't see my face right now, but I'm actually shocked because I did not know that. I didn't know that I exuded bunnies.
Hana, your email is hannahbunny12@gmail.
Okay, excuse me.
There we go.
I changed my email. I made that email when I was 11. So I was still obsessed with bunnies then. I am still obsessed with bunnies now. I love bunnies, but I don't use that email anymore because I'm a mature 19-year-old quasi adult.
Yeah, mature. That's the word I'm going to use.
Right, right.
You had a bunny.
I never had a bunny.
Have a bunny?
I never had a bunny. I wish. One time I cried over not having a bunny and I wanted one so badly, so I was crying to my parents.
You would though.
Yeah.
So that's my first impression of
my God.
Hana. It's a pretty good one, I think.
Yeah,
Pretty
okay.
cute and
It could
sweet.
be worse. Exactly.
Javi.
Oh no.
Me and Javi. Okay, I knew Javi when I went to camp. We went to Rananu. I was there for only one summer as a mother's helper.
I was there for 6 summers.
You were there your whole life, and
I was there, forever.
So whatever. So I knew of her, and then I like first actually met you when you came to the school.
Yeah, I think that was like the beginning of 9th grade. I remember you coming over and being like, we were in camp together. And I was like, I don't remember you. I was way too cool.
I don't know you. I was like color war captain. I'm too cool to be friends with you.
Whatever, it's not a big deal. But then I actually got to know Shana. It turns out she's an awesome person. And honestly, I should have said hi to you in camp because you're really cool. And imagine if we'd become friends sooner. Then life would have been better.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, Shauna's one of the nicest people that I know. She's just so sweet and giving. And that's, I mean, obviously that's not the only reason why we have her on this podcast, but because of the topic today, we felt it was very appropriate that she could come and talk about it from her own experience and her own view and perspective, because we feel it's very important, especially for this topic. So
what is this topic?
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So today we're going to talk about, it's a very important topic and it could get very deep, but we're going to talk about self-esteem and self-confidence.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, so that's fun stuff. Everyone deals with it on a different level, but everybody has either issues or just something to do with it, because everyone has to have self-esteem and self-confidence, whether it's high or low. So like that's what we're going to discuss today through our experiences, our thoughts, and what we feel about this topic. So I want to start off with the question, what do you think is the issue with self-esteem? Like, why is it such a big topic that everyone talks about today, whether positive or negative?
So I'll say that I think one of the biggest issues is that people don't value themselves enough. And they're always comparing themselves to other people. And somebody actually once told me something interesting. They said, like, you see yourself in the mirror every day. You see what you look like. You see like who you are and what you are. And at a certain point, that gets kind of boring. Mm-hmm. And so you start looking at other people, but other people don't see you every day. They don't see your face. They don't see your amazing qualities every day. So for them, it's still fresh. And they're still like, wow, this person's amazing. But because you get bored of yourself, quote unquote, you know, it's very easy to be like, oh, I wish I was somebody else. And you start to put yourself down.
That's so interesting.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's one of the ways that I like to look at it, because sometimes when I feel like that, I'm like, no, it's because I'm getting bored of looking at myself in the mirror a little bit. But there's nothing to be bored of.
That's such like a different like angle to look at this from. A really real issue that most people talk about with the issue of self-esteem is how society really just like, they set a certain standard for what a woman and girl and teen should look like. But those standards are not real. They are literally fake because they are computer generated. People are like, you could watch all these videos online of models taking pictures, and then how much editing goes into these pictures until they are put into a magazine, on a billboard, on screen, is horrendous. It's crazy how much editing. And I'll tell you from like my own personal experience, because I'm like studying to be a graphic designer, and you see how in design and graphic design, how much could be manipulated on a computer. It's insane. And now like the whole thing with social media, it brings it to a whole new level, which is really insane.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll also say that I think as a teenager, your self-esteem and developing your sense of identity are completely connected. Meaning if you don't know who you are, then you can't be proud of yourself. And because as a teenager, sometimes, like I know you've had the podcast before about the awkward teenage tween years, right? Mm-hmm. Even it's very easy to be in that awkward stage and to not be able to have that self-confidence. And it can be a little shaky because as a teen or tween, you mess up and you have to pick yourself up and figure yourself out. But at the end, once you become an adult, I think it's much easier because you have built in your sense of identity already. You know who you are, and you're like, okay, I can be proud of myself now. Meaning there's nothing to rock the boat anymore, you know?
Exactly. That's so true.
I think it's a really good point, Shana, what you were saying. It's a really good point, Diane. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thanks so much for bringing that up.
Of course.
No, since Shana's name is not Diane, we're going to talk about Shana's point for real. And what you were saying about how your self-esteem develops as you become an adult. And I think to relate it back to the original question that Hana posed was, what is the issue with self-esteem? And one of the things that I find is the pressure that a lot of girls may feel at a young age to have this certain well-rounded self-esteem, to have a well-rounded personality, to know exactly who they are. I think it would be very healthy for young girls to kind of shift their perspective and to be able to teach them that it's okay to have no idea who you are when you're 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 18. You can take all the time that you need. You have a whole life ahead of you to know exactly who you are and know exactly what you want out of life. I think it's important to take the time when you're young to kind of sit in the fact that there's so much I don't know about myself. There's so much about me that hasn't developed yet. There's so many things that I'm not confident in that I want to get more confident in, or that I already am confident in that I worked on. And I think it's okay 100%. To sit in that for a little bit. So I think normalizing having low self-esteem to start off with, and then the fact that self-esteem is a process that builds up is an important thing to emphasize in modern times.
Yeah, English. I wanna add to that. Oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. No, like legit, I had something to say.
You know, in Inside Out, when she loses her actual train of thought, like it's a physical train.
It's so funny.
Every time I say I lose my train of thought, that's what I think about.
What are you taking this semester? Okay, we'll talk about this later.
I'm not going to tell. If anyone is curious what classes Shana and I are taking in Stern next semester, you can comment on our Instagram and tag YU in the comments of our Instagram page, and then we'll DM you and send you our class schedules for spring. I just feel like that's a really good way to go about it. Speaking of Stern, so it happens to be that Shana is doing Stern from home, so she gets to do this in the cozy comfort of her laptop computer
my
home
laptop,
bedroom.
as my eyes burn through the screen.
I feel you, Shana.
Yeah. But I am doing Stern in person. I'm there. I'm on campus, and I've been meeting a lot of new people, a lot of really cool people, and it makes me think a lot about how self-esteem develops from high school into your college years. Because when you're in college, you are sort of transitioning into this phase of like, I am totally an independent adult, but at the same time, your parents still take care of everything for you, and you're so scared to make your own doctor appointments. And
accurate.
Yeah, and you still can't cook more than like an omelet. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is really, really exciting news. Do you remember in our second episode when we spoke about embarrassing moments, I said that I have a really big fear about calling like just places and either booking appointments or like, I don't know, just making an order. Mm-hmm. I think I got over that fear.
Baruch Hashem.
Isn't that such a milestone? Like, I'm not saying that I'm fully there yet, but I think I built up the confidence to just, and I took all of everyone's advice, my advice as well, and I just do it. Like, now I could call people and ask questions that, like, get what I need, just whatever. So, yeah, it's great. I'm so proud of myself.
Such an important skill. It's honestly such an important skill. You cannot get around in life if you can't do that. So I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. I'm not like fully there yet. I don't think I'm gonna be like a salesperson and like make cold calls and ask people to buy something. But like if I need to make an appointment,
you'll be following a script at least.
No, but I don't want to do that. But if I need to like book an appointment or like call if I have like a customer service question, I don't mind doing that.
We should definitely do an episode on tips on how to make important phone calls and how to talk to.
Hello, we had an episode about that. That's why I brought up this point.
I know, but we should do like a more fleshed out episode of like specific tips of how to get over the fear of talking on the phone.
Okay, guys, if you want that episode, then comment the rotary phone emoji. Is it called a rotary phone?
It's called a rotary.
A rotary, right? I think I'm too young for the terminology.
Our parents are listening to this and cringing right now.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so I feel like it's important that we also ask this question of like, why is self-esteem even important?
I know that's a good question. So I think it's very important for a few different reasons. Well, first of all, it really impacts your life in many different ways. The first way is that it really could impact your decisions on what you do, whether it's the small things or really big decisions, whether it's walking up to a person that you've never met before and introducing yourself. That takes a lot of confidence and self-esteem, or taking a job that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. That also takes a lot of confidence and self-esteem, but these both could be, even though one is very small, one is very big, they could both be life-changing experiences. So both of them take some confidence and self-esteem to to do. So that's why it's very important. Another reason is because it really affects who you are and your quality of life. I remember somebody once told me that you want the voice in your head to be a positive one, not a negative one. You want the person inside your brain, that's you, but like, everyone has a voice inside your head, inside their head, right?
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I had a teacher in seminary, and he has a theory that not everyone has that voice inside their head.
Really?
I know.
Everyone does.
And how is he going to prove that?
He took a poll in the class, and he's like, how many of you, when you think, have a voice in your head? Half the girls raised their hand, and he said, how many of you, when you think, just kind of instinctively know what your thoughts are, but there's no voice? Half of the girls raised their hands.
That's insane.
No, there's a voice. There's definitely a voice in my head.
I don't believe it.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I know. I don't believe it. I really don't.
I'm going to do some research into this. That's actually
It's me.
crazy.
There's me inside my head.
Right? Yeah. The voice in your head that says your thoughts, but apparently not everybody has that.
Okay, well, whether it's your thoughts instinctively or the voice inside your head, you want it to be a positive one. You want it encouraging you and making you smile. You don't want it to be criticizing and self-deprecating, because that's sad, and that's a sad quality of life. It really is hard to build up that positivity inside your brain. It takes a lot of work, and it takes really a lifetime of work. But that's a really good goal to have.
So Hana, I want to go back to what you were saying. You mentioned about taking jobs that maybe are a little bit out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So Shana, Shana and I, you kind of knows what's coming. It was the summer between 9th and 10th grade, yeah? Or 10th and 11th?
No.
I think it was 10th
Maybe and 11th.
Okay, the summer between 10th and 11th grade, Shana and I did an internship. We interned at a fashion company in Manhattan called, actually, I'm not supposed to say the name. She said we're not supposed to say.
Don't say the name.
Yeah, don't say the name.
Okay. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but Shana and I interned for this fashion company in Manhattan. That took a lot of what's known as fake it till you make it. Shana and I had no idea what we were doing. They would give us random tasks. Shana,
yeah, from what I heard, that sounds like a real.
It was literally it's the kind of internship that like you hear about, like the kind where it's like getting coffee, and don't even get us started on like the day of the fashion shoot. Like they had to take all new like the photographer came, hair, makeup, like the whole team came to like whatever, all the models should put on all their clothing, and they had to take a bazillion pictures. We were there all day, literally all day. We didn't take a bite to eat. By the end of the day, I thought I was going to drop.
I had to go around taking lunch orders. I went around with an iPad putting in lunch orders, and then I touched something and all the orders got canceled, and I had to go back around.
Oh my god, it was
literally the kind of thing where you're like literally scum on their shoe, and they're like, oof. That's
so sad. But it really sounds like you stepped out of your comfort zone for that, especially since, I mean, Shana, you a little bit more, but like fashion isn't really your thing. Like it's not really one of your passions.
Not mine either.
For sure not. To this day, I don't know why I did that internship.
We don't.
I was telling myself
it was out of your comfort zone.
I kept telling myself it'll look good on a resume. Now I'm thinking like, what kind of a resume? Because I'm going into Jewish education. So
wait, but I have a question. Did you feel different going in and coming out? Like, did you take anything away from it?
You definitely had to learn how to be an adult. It was a very like adult atmosphere, and like you couldn't just like be a kid. Like you needed to really be an adult and take everything seriously. These models like wanted things from you. There was a lot going on in that room, and you needed to really just be on the ball. And we walked out exhausted, but we walked out feeling like, wow, like I was in the adult Manhattan world, and I learned a lot about what the world is like. And I know that I couldn't have done that if I didn't have the confidence to do it. You know what I mean? This is just like a tip I'll give, even in general for self-esteem, is sometimes even just walking into a room with your head held high and, proper posture and, just walking in with confidence, people really look at you, even if you have to fake it. People look at you like, wow, this person has their life together.
Because people don't know what's going on inside your head.
For sure not. But definitely there's this idea of like faking it till you make it. And even if that's how you get about it in life, and you can make your way up to the top in whatever you choose to do with your life. Even if it's hard for you, there's a way to do it, and nobody should feel like, oh, I don't have self-esteem, so I can't get there, because that's not true.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
Exactly.
Yeah, I will also say that being in that environment gave me a little bit of a thicker skin. I remember there was one day, straight out of a movie. So the woman that we worked directly under was asking for someone to pick up her Starbucks order. She had put in an order to Starbucks it's on the way from Penn to the office. So she's like, can one of you pick it up just on your way from the train to the office? So I said, yeah, sure. So it was pouring rain. I run into the Starbucks because I was running late already, and I wanted to get there on time, be impressive. And I was like, I'll pick you up an order for, and then I said her name, and they're like, okay, it's not ready yet. So I had to wait another 10 minutes, and I was so scared because I was already running late. Finally, I grab her coffee. Picture the scene. It's pouring rain. I'm running through the streets of Manhattan, holding my boss's coffee in one hand, my bag flying in the other hand. And I'm like, excuse me, sorry, pardon me. Not even looking at crosswalk signs, just running, flying down 7th Avenue. It was insane. Finally, I get into the building. I'm soaking wet. Meanwhile, this is a professional fashion company. So I show up. My hair is frizzy. My mascara is running. I'm soaking. And I stumble.
It sounds like it's out
office.
of a movie.
It was. It was. It really was. Shauna's
like
already
Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, exactly like Devil Wears Prada. Shauna's already sitting there at her desk, getting her stuff done, and I'm like, I'm here. And then starting that over, so I put the coffee down on the desk, and she wasn't there. So I was like, okay, I'll just leave it for her. Hours go by, and she still doesn't come.
Oh my god!
And I was like, it was a hot coffee, so I was like, her coffee's gonna get cold. I don't know. And then she comes in and she goes, I was in a meeting. How come no one brought me my coffee? I was like, you never told me you were in a meeting. It was, and I remember in that moment being like, feeling myself cracking a little bit, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But then you know what? I rolled my shoulders back a little bit, and I was like, I did my very absolute best.
Exactly.
I did what I had to do. I went into the Starbucks in the rain. I got the drink. I didn't know she was in a meeting. And I found that was a very defining moment for me, because it would have been so easy to have just been like, that's it, I'm a failure. I didn't do anything right. It's, my life's going to come before me. I tried to do something big and professional, and I tried to be an adult, and I just couldn't do it. And it's just too hard. But I think that moment, I really made a choice to kind of just say, listen, I did my best. Yeah, I didn't do a great job because now her coffee's cold and now she's all upset at us. But you know what? We didn't get paid for that internship anyway. No, that's not the moral story.
That's what you just have to remember. I didn't get paid, and I will never need that for a transcript. So.
I know.
For a resume.
I think the lesson to take out of it is, one, only do things if you're actually going to need them for your resume in the future. And two,
I disagree with that. I don't think everything you should do should be for a resume.
Okay, well,
in this case, yes. In this case.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I think in high school you feel like everything you should do should be for a resume, but I was not for that. I think if you're an impressive person and you do extracurriculars, do what you want in the summer, go to camp, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just my opinion. I think I spoke about it before.
No, obviously that's different.
Yeah, a lot of girls even now in Stern, we always have a discussion. They're like, should I intern here and here for my transcripts, or should I be a madricha in this program, or should I be a counselor? And I'm like, you have your entire life to go intern somewhere. You only have a couple years left to be a teenager and I don't know, stay up till 4 in the morning eating whipped cream with your campers. You know?
For sure.
That's way more fun.
Yeah. That's literally how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, back to the topic.
Back to the topic at hand. So, Shana, I want to hear your take on why you say self-esteem is important. I know you are the kind of person with good insights on this. Do you have anything to share?
First of all, I'm really honored that you think I'm that self-confident. That you invited me for this episode.
Oh yeah.
But I think just some tips are, as I said before, there's something about faking it until you make it. Like I said, as long as you walk into a room smiling, anyone will believe that you're confident. I think a lot of times, I know growing up in high school, I was never a math person. I just didn't like math. It wasn't my thing. And I remember every time I would get back a test and I didn't really get the grade I wanted, I would just feel myself crumble. Yes. And I kind of just let that one thing that I wasn't so good at completely ruin the rest of me. That Baruch Hashem, I'm good at so many other things,
Yeah.
And I think it's also about learning how to be like, okay, I have my strengths, I have my weaknesses, and my weaknesses aren't going to be my downfall. If I let that weakness destroy me and not let me to continue forward, and I mean, it sounds dramatic, but not let me go forward and do what I want to do with the rest of my life, even if that means, like, let's say I have to go to college and at one point I need to take a one math class, but I'm gonna say, no, I'm not going to college because I have to take that one math class, and I'm never gonna get to where I want to get to. So it's about not letting that one bad thing, quote unquote, ruin your whole identity.
Yeah.
And I think there's also one thing that it's personal to me, and it's something that I had to learn on my own, but I truly believe that there is, in every person, there's this child in them. It's the sensitive part of you, the inner voice that you kind of have to speak to now and then. And if you keep reprimanding that child, and if you keep being too hard on that child every time something goes wrong, or you don't like, who you are or what you're saying, you won't ever really be able to establish real confidence. You have to sometimes just look at yourself as a kid and say, like, would I ever yell at a kid for something like that? And look at yourself that way too and say, I shouldn't be yelling at myself or something like that, because that's not something that I can control. Exactly. And once you do that, there's something so liberating about that, and you'll be able to really love every part of yourself.
Yeah. I really like what you said about, like, the inner child, because also a big thing that I really try to keep on telling myself is you shouldn't be saying things to yourself that you wouldn't say to other people.
Yes.
Like, why do you look in the mirror and say, you look so ugly, your hair's so messy, you look fat? Like, why are you saying that to yourself if you wouldn't go over to your friend and say that to them? Chas v'shalom, you would never say that to anybody else.
Anyone. So even if you're thinking it, you would never say it to them.
Exactly. So what's the difference of you saying it to yourself? You're a human being. You're still a person. Why would you do that to yourself? So that's something that I think really is very similar to what you're saying about that inner child. Which I think is really important.
I really think also, like, and something that I've told a lot of my friends, and if any of you are actually listening to this, you'll be able to agree with me. One way to improve on that is, growing up, when I struggled with it, I would look in the mirror every day, before I would go to school or at the end of my day, whenever I had time, and just say 3 things that I like about myself. And try to switch it up. And, maybe for a whole week, these are the only 3 things. Let's say my eyes, my nose, and my hair are the only 3 things that I like about myself that week. But slowly, once you keep telling it to yourself, and you keep telling it to yourself, and you keep telling it to yourself, you'll start to actually believe it. And then you can move on to the other parts. Okay, I like my height. I like my eye color. I like, you can switch it up. And then after some time, you really do start to love yourself, and you start to see yourself for who you are. And that's an amazing person. And there's no reason why you should beat yourself down. Yeah. You're not supposed to be perfect. And if you are, you're not supposed to be here.
So, Shana, this is why we brought you on, for wisdom like that.
That's what we needed. Okay, so I think it's time to take a break, and after, we'll continue our conversation about how to improve confidence. Okay, so continuing the conversation about how to improve self-esteem, I want to build upon what Shana said, because you said some really, really good advice. About looking into the mirror and finding 3 things that you love about yourself. So I'm going to be honest with you, that's actually something that I've been doing. I've been doing it a little bit differently. A few weeks ago, I sat down and I wrote a list of positive character traits that I have, or that I think I even have like a little bit that really just describe me. And I'm gonna I just searched up a list on the computer of like positive character traits, and a list of like 500 words came up. So I just like wrote down the ones that really had to do with me, and I put it on a post-it note and I put it next to my mirror, so that every morning after I wake up, when I look into the mirror or after I get dressed, I read those positive attributes. Attributes? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Positive character traits that I have. I read them to myself just to remind myself that that's who I am. I'm creative. I'm energetic. I'm happy. I'm positive. I'm optimistic. And it's come to the point where, Baruch Hashem, I've basically memorized the list, that anytime where I'm feeling a little bit down or my self-esteem is a little bit low, I could just pull up that list either on my phone or literally in my head, and just think about all the positive and good character traits that I have, that Hashem gave me, and that just reminds me about who I am, and that makes me feel so much better. So that's a really, really practical piece of advice that I really want to give you guys and everyone else who's listening, because that's something that really helps me, and it reminds me that I'm valuable and that I matter and that I have like a purpose in this world, and that's something that's really, really important. That
Yeah, girl.
Sure.
yes,
For sure. For sure.
get it, girl.
Get it, girl.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, sister.
Hi, sister. Okay. And another thing I want to mention that also boosts self-confidence is finding something that you love and keeping at it to do it. And really just finding a time, whether it's once a week, once a day, whenever, just try to find it off like a time as often as you can to do something that you love, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's drawing, whether it's listening to music, or just something to do by yourself with yourself, which I think is also so important, just to like spend time with yourself, you know? And I know like that sounds like really weird to like, I don't know, I'm spending time with myself. I have a date with myself. But you know, that's really important. That's something that I actually really learned in seminary. One of my goals in seminary was to go on a date with myself. I know that sounds so weird.
No, I completely agree.
Right?
It's so
like,
important.
to go to a cafe or like Katsefe and just spend time with myself. Just order whatever I wanted and like actually just enjoy time alone with myself. And that's something that I really built in seminary. And I feel like, especially in quarantine, that's something that I've also
Can I tell you?
developed. Yeah.
That is a very difficult thing to do. I know a lot of people who are scared. There are a lot of people who are scared to be alone for 1 second, you know, because then they're alone with their thoughts, and then the thoughts start reeling out and they start to thinking negative things. I think there's actually a Gemara that says that
I love Hashem, that you're bringing in Gemaras.
That Gemara,
Shana!
You brought me to your podcast. So there's a Gemara that says that Hashem created your Yetzer Hara before your Yetzer Tov even, meaning he created it along with your brain and your organs and every other part of you. So you can't really help it, you know, sometimes when you don't feel so good, because the Yetzer Hara is kind of pushing at you. But that's what our purpose is. Our purpose is to be able to bring out our Yetzer Tov and say, no, like I'm so much better than this. And a lot of people can't do that. They can't go sit by themselves in Katsefit and order the biggest ice cream and, you know, and to just enjoy it, because they're like, I can't be alone for 1 second, or my quote unquote, right, my Yetzer Hara is going to come out and I'm not going to feel so good with myself anymore.
I'm not saying it's easy. It's
not. So easy. I applaud you.
No, and when I said it was my goal in seminary to do that once over an entire year. To do that once, not to do it every week or every month. It was to do it once, and I did it once, and that was it. And I like, it really helped me like feel so much better about myself. So I think that's a really, if you're going to seminary, or even if you're home alone, if you're in school, just find some time to spend with yourself, because I think that's really important.
I definitely think building independence really builds your self-esteem.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I also just want to say that whether it doesn't have to be like a whole date with yourself, it doesn't have to be like a whole 2-hour date when you go out to a restaurant. Like, it could literally be 5 minutes, just like
it should be a 5-hour date.
5 hours date with yourself.
You should be milkshakes by the time it's over. Just be done.
I would never go on a milkshake date with myself. Like, if I'm going on a date with myself, it's got to be milkshakes, you know?
Yeah, really? I feel like
I like milkshakes.
Like, I would order the biggest pasta on the menu. Just the biggest pasta.
Shana and pasta. Shana loves pasta, guys.
Guys, but I have a pasta obsession. That should have been my fun fact.
That should have been fun fact.
Well, you also are Italian. So
yeah, I am.
I think it makes sense.
Guys, I am now going to tell my favorite Shana story. So when Shana and I were in 9th grade, we were doing a project together. So we FaceTimed so we could do the project. And
it was for Ivrit, and we had to write a recipe for iced coffee.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What a throwback.
Full circle.
We had to make up a recipe in Hebrew. So then I think it was your dad who came into the room. Her dad asked her a question in Farsi. Shana responded in English. Then her dad asked her a question in Italian, and Shana responded in Hebrew.
That's Shana.
I was so confused. And then the fire alarm went off in Shana's house, and everything just descended into chaos.
It was May, and my brother was making latkes.
In May?
Remember?
Yeah,
in May.
randomly. Yeah,
in the month of May. No, my house is Balagan. Everyone knows.
Oh yeah, that's
It was really fun. So that was, I don't know why that story is relevant to anything. I just felt like putting that in there.
That story really just embodies Shana and how much we love her.
It's true. It's very true. So
Thanks, guys.
So
I love you guys too.
We love you, Shana. Also, speaking of improving your self-esteem.
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to add on a little bit about what Hana and Shana were saying. Hana, Shana.
By the way, in high school, that was so annoying because I would hear
Hana,
and I didn't know if it was Hana or Shana when somebody would yell.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel you.
Hana, Shana for the win. It's true. So Hana, Shana were saying earlier about how difficult it can be to spend time with yourself, especially I think going to like the restaurant by yourself or going to a movie theater by yourself, doing these like big public activities by yourself are really daunting. I have never done it. I've always wanted to go see a movie by myself just to prove to myself that I have enough confidence to sit there and enjoy and but Sean, I'm not as cool as you that I actually made it happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But even just like going to the grocery store yourself and getting your own groceries, or I'm trying to think of another example. Even just daily activities. Yeah.
Yeah. I think even
going
just
on a
sitting
walk
in
with
your room by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for girls who are maybe a little more extroverted and maybe you draw your energy from hanging out with other people, spending time with other people, which is a beautiful thing in itself. And that's great. And, no need to deny that part of yourself. Don't lock yourself in your room and never speak to anyone. Of course not. But just as a little bit of an exercise to like set a half hour on the clock and color in a picture, do something where you're kind of still present in the world. I don't think Netflix counts because you're a little bit distracted.
You're not present, yeah.
Yeah, you're not present within yourself. So do something where you're present but alone. And I would also say to acknowledge that it's a really difficult process to get to a place where you can feel comfortable in your own skin. And the entire time along the way, just be nice to yourself about it. Be like, you're doing great. And, maybe if you had a goal set for the day, like today I'm going to spend time with myself, and then you just couldn't do it. You got too scared. You got too embarrassed. That's okay. Yeah. Be kind to yourself anyway. Don't feel too guilty about it. You're working on yourself. You're trying your best. And that is more important than any of the progress that you actually make. Of course, progress is amazing. And progress is even better than not progress. But it's also just be kind to yourself, support yourself, even when it gets hard, even when it gets tough. Love yourself and remind yourself, you're doing great, sweetie.
You're amazing. You're incredible. And
you're doing great. You are amazing.
Light it up.
And for 1 second, you should not think that you aren't worthy and that you don't matter and that things are turning around against you. Hashem is on your side. We are on your side. Yes. Comment down below if you enjoy this because we are on your side.
Exactly. Yeah. We're all on your side. We really are. Guys, you rock. Like, you could do whatever you put your mind to. Literally whatever you put your mind to.
You're already listening to one of the greatest podcasts out there. So
one of them.
But
the greatest.
The greatest podcast. So you're already
not right there. Self-confidence. Self-confidence, baby. We got it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Speaking of going places, Hana.
Yeah.
Where should we go next?
Speaking of going places.
Yeah.
Speaking of going places, my cousin just invited me to her wedding in Dubai.
Whoa,
you should go.
I know. I'm thinking about it.
You could go yourself. Make it a trip for yourself. Make it a
confidence trip. Let's go.
Make it a Shana date.
Shana, have the confidence to go to Dubai.
Okay, let's see if I can. I might have to get the vaccine before I go, but
okay.
Let's see what happens.
Doesn't hurt.
I don't know if we're keeping this in the podcast. You guys can cut it out if you choose.
We're gonna end all Rona talks right there.
Right there. We're gonna end all the Rona talks. And I think it's time to wrap it up like a
Hanukkah present.
Time to wrap it up like a Hanukkah present.
Hanukkah's over, fam.
I know, but Hanukkah presents never are always relevant.
That's true.
Presents. I'll take presents all the time.
Same.
Presents? Someone say presents?
I love presents.
Present. There's no time like the present.
It's true. So should we wrap it up with our 3 wonderful pieces of advice?
Oh yes, Hana is going to give you all the gift of her unsolicited quasi-adult advice.
Okay, so here's my quasi-adult advice for the end of this episode. Number 1, my first piece of advice for the end of this self-confidence episode is to do what you love. Find what you love doing, whether it's drawing, singing, literally being active, going outside, staying inside, whatever you love, and do it more. just if you do what you love, then that will slowly help you build your confidence because you're surrounding yourself by what you love and what you love doing. My second piece of advice is to be grateful. That is always my piece of advice because I think that is so important to be grateful of the people around you, the things around you, but also most importantly, be grateful for yourself. Be grateful that Hashem put you on this earth with the beautiful body he gave you and the beautiful attributes that he gave you. So wake up every morning and say Moda Ani to be grateful and thank Hashem for every moment that he's given you. My third piece of advice to end it off is to have a emunah, to really believe that Hashem put you in this world for a reason, that you are valuable. You have a purpose in this world. Hashem gave you special character traits and special qualities and other stuff that make you you. To fulfill a purpose in this world. That is the reason why you are here. You have a purpose. You matter. You are important. You are beautiful and you are special. That is why you wake up every single morning, and you should just live life to the fullest, to your fullest potential. And yes, it will be hard at times. Yes, it will be challenging, but just rise over those obstacles because they are there to make you a better and more beautiful person.
Yes. Ooh, Hana. I feel like I just listened to a Charlie Harari speech.
Yes. Oh, I love Charlie. Did you just, wow, that was such a big compliment.
Charlie Harari right here.
I love Charlie Harari.
Charlie Harari's good. He's good.
Wow.
He's
Did
really
you just
good.
compare me to Charlie Harari?
I think I might have. Like what else?
I think that's just what happened.
I think that's just what happened, and that is one of the biggest compliments you could ever give me. Thank you, Chevi.
Oh my gosh, Hana, anytime.
Okay, I think it's time to wrap it up like a Hanukkah present for you, Chevi. What are your 3 pieces of advice?
Here's my Hanukkah present advice for you. And the first one is to play off of what Hanukkah to play off of what Hana said. To play off of what Hana said about doing more of what you love, I would say don't be afraid to be confident in the things that you love. I remember as a kid, I was really into like Harry Potter and all this really other awesome stuff. And I think for a lot of girls, you can sometimes get this feeling of being a little bit embarrassed about the things that might interest you. Like I know even now as a 19-year-old girl, I still prefer like little kid animated movies over legit movies. And it's not
same,
right?
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Better.
Okay, thank you. I'm not alone. So I think my first piece of advice is to kind of just be confident in the things that you enjoy and the things that you're interested in and the things that make you happy, and not to be afraid of what other people are going to say about that. You know, like if you like certain books or shows or movies or games or dressing a certain way, then you know, just kind of go for it. And I think that is a very healthy way to practice building your self-esteem. My second piece of advice would be to stay away from things that make you feel less confident or less happy, to stay away from people. If there are friends in your life who hanging around with them just doesn't make you feel good about yourself, they don't make you feel like a confident person, and sometimes they say things that just, you know, are kind of blah, then don't hang out with those people. Spend time in the company of people who make you confident and who appreciate you for who you are and who recognize you for the awesome person you are, because you are awesome. And nobody deserves to make you feel like you are anything less than absolutely amazing. So stay away from the bad vibes. Peace signs all around. Vibes. Stay away from the bad vibes.
100%.
Yeah.
And
I
can't with this girl. This girl is just a walking Tanakh, Talmud.
It's really true.
Jewish amazingness.
Okay, Javi, what's your third piece of advice?
Hana, I'm really so glad you asked. It's a really good point, Diane. Thank you so much for bringing that up. My third piece of advice would be similar to what Hana and Shana and so many of us have already said on this podcast, but that it's really easy to find things in ourselves that we don't like. I know for myself, those are the things that always come up first if you think about yourself. And I would say to make that conscious effort to look for the positive things in yourself, and to also learn to love the negative parts of yourself. You know, like I don't like that my hair is really naturally frizzy, but you know what? It's got personality,
exactly,
just like you. Me. So I am going to learn to love my frizz, and I'm also going to learn how to style my hair better. But you know, those things are not contradictory. And
exactly,
just love yourself.
Those things don't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for listening to our episode about self-confidence. I really hope you learned something and gained something. I think we definitely did. And Shana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys. I had so much fun.
It was really, really awesome to have you on our podcast.
It's such a nice conversation to have. It's really going to be in my mind a lot today about making sure that I keep up with my self-confidence. And I really hope that this helps anybody who's listening. I know it could be really hard, especially today. There's a lot out there that's trying to push us down, but we have to remember how special and important we are.
Exactly.
As Jewish girls also, we really do have invisible crowns on our heads, as cringy as it is.
It's
But
true.
wear your crown with pride.
Yeah, you're a queen.
You're a queen.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, so with that, I want to say thank you to Racheli Eisenberger who makes all this happen. Thank you to Anchor, our distributor, and thank you Chevi and Shana and everyone who made this podcast happen. And just remember that you are awesome, you are incredible, you are a very special human being, and you are beautiful inside and out. Chevi,
don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Anchor. Don't forget to comment how much you love this podcast. Leave us a positive review. Subscribe to us on Anchor. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all other major podcasting platforms. Don't forget to hit that download button. You can follow us on Instagram at Project Ice Coffee. You could shoot us an email real quick, projecticecoffeepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget how awesome you are. We love you so much. See you next time on Project Ice Coffee. You know what else, guys, that I almost forgot to add? We have merch. You can find our merch on Instagram if you follow the link in the link. Check out the link in our bio to find us a merch. We have sweatshirts, we have hoodies, we have sweatpants, we have drawstring bags. We have lots and lots of love and fun times.
Exactly. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.